It's safe to say that GDC is definitely one of the more important events of the year. Of course, the 2017 event took place a few weeks ago, but you might have seen the chart floating around which first surfaced on COG Connected, which basically pertained to show the most important gaming platforms in 2017. And essentially, the worrying thing was, at least at first glance, that the Nintendo Switch was all the way at the bottom below the Apple TV at 3%. Now, as you can see on the screen yourself, the PC is at the top, 53, with smartphones at 38, and the Pro at 27, VR at 24, and Scorpio/Xbox One at 22%. And obviously you've got some smaller numbers below that, with the Nintendo Switch right at the bottom of the pile. Now, if we were to take this just at face value, of course, it paints a very worrying picture that so few developers are interested in working on the Switch, because that's what this chart shows. The percentage of game developers who are currently working on games for those platforms. So if you took this and said, oh, yep, this is what developers were saying at GDC, then, it starts to paint a grim picture. However, there is something to actually take into consideration here. This particular survey was not actually conducted at GDC 2017. It was actually taken in December of last year. Now, let me refresh your memory. This is actually before the Nintendo Switch presentation. So while we knew what the Switch was, because obviously we had that lovely little trailer back in October, we were yet to find out, really what the Switch was. We didn't know too much about the system other than that very snappy trailer that we saw in October. The real information was still in our futures at this time. So basically, you've got a thing where a lot of developers were probably under some sort of NDA. Because, given how hush-hush Nintendo are generally as a company, and the fact that, of course, they're still kind of walking through the flames and wreckage of the Wii U, developers were probably told to keep stum about the Switch until Nintendo were ready to give the official here's everything about the Switch reveal that we got, of course, in January. So you got a lot of developers who maybe weren't working on the Switch yet because, well, it hadn't been officially revealed, and you probably got another set of developers who were working on games for the system, but they were either literally under contract not to say anything, or they were just gun shy about actually saying anything. Maybe because it's anonymous, they thought, oh, maybe I can say, but then they thought, oh no, I better not, because it's Nintendo, better be careful, and they didn't want to actually admit, even anonymously that they were working on a game for the system. And obviously, another important thing to remember is we don't know who they were speaking to here. Is this, was this AAA, was this Ubisoft, or was this, a smaller games company like, say, just for example, Nicholas or Dodge Roll or someone like that? You get my point. There are a swathe of indie developers who could very much, and are very much at least, developing for the Switch, and they're probably more likely to be working on a game for the system than, say, a big budget AAA developer, because, well, as I've said now, and I don't mean to harp on the point, the Switch, as a handheld, impressive, but as a console, not so much, and the power is definitely going to be a concern for people who are working on the latest and greatest games. We've already heard that certain AAA games are just not going to be on the system due to the lower power of the machine. So it is more likely, if I were to ask 20 indie developers, show of hands for how many people are working on a game for the Switch, we're probably going to get more hands raised than if I asked, a bunch of AAA companies, are you working on a game for the Switch? So, while this chart is not, fake or fake news or whatever you want to call it, it is a little bit misleading because, at the time that this survey was actually conducted, the Switch hadn't yet been officially revealed, so there was numerous reasons why a developer would have said, oh no, I'm not actually working on the Switch, even though they were, or, they were only thinking about it at this stage. That's another thing to consider. Perhaps they were waiting to see more about the system, or maybe their game is in very early stages and they weren't yet sure what platform they're working on. I could keep going on and on and on, belaboring the point, but obviously that would be a little annoying, so I'm not going to do that. However, leaving that aside for just a second, it's still pretty damn good that PC is reigning high at the top there, or PC/Mac, but I would probably lay actual money down on the Mac section of that, probably being within the 2 to 5% range, but you know, I'm happy to be wrong. But regardless, it just shows as well that PC gaming is going from strength to strength, and it is only continuing to grow with more and more games being worked on, you know, either as, you know, just another version for the latest games, or of course sometimes PC exclusive games, although it does happen, I guess more rarely, a little more rarely than, a little less often, I suppose is a better way to word that. Regardless, that does happen a little less often than, say, a console exclusive, but, you know, regardless, PC gaming is going from strength to strength, so that is a good thing that we can take away from this. You know, the fact that it's in December doesn't really affect rather the results for everything else other than the Switch. You know, the PC's going strong, tablet is unsurprisingly swiftly behind its heels, and of course VR is showing growth as well, which is definitely good, because we have yet to really see any killer apps for that particular platform other than, say, Resident Evil 7. A lot of them have been, you know, experiences, and obviously we've had like Until Dawn, Rush of Blood and so on, but it is, you know, very much a burgeoning platform, and obviously more games, more good games for that particular platform is definitely going to help improve its stock in the eyes of gamers. So with all that said, thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, it does help out a great deal, and I'll see you next time.